James put it like this, you know it, 1:8, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Indecision, Joshua 24:15 says, and if it seems evil for you to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves this day who you're going to serve. Are you going to serve your dream or are you going to serve indecision? Do you realize that when you allow fear to cause you not to ask someone for something, that you're rejecting yourself before you even giving them a chance to reject you? Someone says, well, ask can we get the price lower? Ask them can they do it for a cheaper price? Or, we had our car fixed today, and I got the guy down 15%. If I said, well, nah, don't ask anything, I'm rejecting me before I'm giving Volkswagen a chance to reject me. Choose for yourselves this day who you will serve. You know the verse in 1 Kings 18:21, when Elijah was with the prophets of Baal, and he says, and Elijah came to all the people, he said, how long will you falter between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. Amen. But if Baal is God, follow him. And it says, and the people answered not a word. Indecision. What choices do you need to make? I have unbelievable teaching. Got to get it. Your life's a photograph of your decision-making abilities. Do you realize the average person makes 365 choices a day? The average inmate makes 7. You know why? Because their track record of being a poor decision-making has caused the system to limit their choices. So they're told when to eat. They're told what to wear. They're told when to leave. They've lost their ability to make choices because the system says, we don't trust you in your capacity. But you are free. Indecision. Remember the principle, you know it well. When change is necessary, not the change is destructive. When it's necessary to change your diet and you don't change it, not to change is destructive because of high sodium, because of too much sugar, because of not enough vegetables. When exercise is necessary, not to exercise is destructive. When saving is necessary, not to save is destructive. When change is necessary, not to change is destructive. When it's time to change your overtones in the context of marriage towards your spouse, not to change is what? Destructive. Indecision, that's an enemy. Number 3, the third enemy on the inside that we have to conquer, this is pretty obvious, but we need to go over it. Doubt. Doubt. Mark 11:22, you know the verse. So Jesus answered and said to them, have faith in God. Literally that means in the Greek, have the God kind of faith. It says, for surely I say unto you, whosoever shall say to this mountain, be removed and be thou cast in the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes those things he says will be done, he shall have whatever he says. It says, does not doubt. We want to be careful about doubt. In Mark 5, we see after Jesus heals the woman with the issue of blood, he's getting ready to heal Jairus' daughter, and you see this little refrain in Mark 5, verse 36. It says, and Jesus heard the word that was spoken. Let me start at verse 34. And he said, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction. That's the one with the issue of blood. Now, Jairus and his daughter, you know, who was 12 years old, and she dies. It says, and while he was still speaking, some came from the ruler of the synagogue's house, Mark 5:35, who said, your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further? Like, why are you bugging Jesus? She's gone. She's dead. Look at what Jesus said in verse 36. As soon as he heard the word that was spoken, he said to the ruler of the synagogue, "Do not be afraid, only believe." Man, that applies to every single one of us. No matter what you hear, the first report's not the last report. Don't be afraid, only believe. We got to learn how to deal with doubt. Now, let me say this, because this is one that I want to make sure I bring balance to. We believe in grace, and we believe in God's love and his predisposition to be gracious and kind to us. So I want to be careful, because one of the things that really bugs me is this teaching that is this hyper faith position that's super taught. And in order for you to get the manifestation of whatever you're believing for, you've got to stay in one continuum from second 1 to year 14. And if you wavered at any point, you negated everything you did, and now you got to start all over. That's called bondage. That's called legalism. If that were the case, you wouldn't need a savior. You would just need your faith. You wouldn't need faith in God. You need faith in faith. And you have to be careful. There are a lot of camps that have faith in faith. But we're called to have faith in God. If it's predicated on you doing this, then you're a God. Now, at the same time, you can't go around just consistently doubting him, impugning his motives, questioning whether he loves you, questioning if he's going to. But there's a balance to it. But we want to watch doubt. There's some people, and I don't want to say some people, there's seasons in life where it's easy to get very cynical. I don't even want to say some people. There's some seasons that can make you have to fight cynicism vigorously. I mean, did Joseph have to fight cynicism? He has a dream and his brothers betray him. He's sold into slavery. Mrs. Potiphar lies on him. He goes to prison. The butler forgets about him. I mean, after a while, you're like, what's up? We talked about it last week when we talked about Acts 14, when it says, Acts 14, I believe it's around 22 or so, where it talks about how they had stoned Paul and they supposed he was dead. And we said stoning is based on the principle of life throwing one thing after the other after you, after the other, and it's just repeatedly, and you're just putting out fires. Stoning is based on the principle of life going thing after thing after thing at you. So we want to really, really monitor this thing about doubt. It's easy to get pessimistic when you feel like you're being stoned, was my point. It's easy to get cynical when you feel like it's one thing after the next, after the next, after the next, and you feel like you're Paul in Acts 14. But you have to keep circling back that no matter whatever's going on, see, you're a believer. If you're a debater, then you can have that discussion in your head. But you're believers. The reason why you came tonight is because you're believers. Believers, check it out, believe. It's a novel thought. If this was debaters, then we can talk about, well, why should we believe? Look at the empirical data, but you're a believer. So believers believe that no matter what's going on, God can fix it. It can change. It can improve. The Bible is full of stories of people who got down to the wire. Right? The 3 Hebrew boys. The king's looking down there and he said, I thought you dropped 3, but I see there's a 4th man in the fire. You got to believe that there's going to be a 4th man in your fire. If you're Daniel, you have to believe that he can shut the mouths of the lions. God will let you get down to where it's close and tight. 1 Samuel 17, David said, Who are you, you uncircumcised Philistine? He goes on to talk about how he rescued him from the paw of the lion. The paw is symbolic of you being at that right before your last breath, at something coming at you. Midnight hour, if you're Paul and Silas in Acts 16. Even if you're Jairus' daughter, they tell you you're dead. He says, oh, don't be afraid, only believe. You know why? Because he was the resurrection. Isn't that what happened with Martha? Jesus hears that Lazarus is dead. John 11, it says he hung out 2 more days. And then he's in front of Martha, and Martha's like, what's up? She's like, if you had been here, you could have saved my brother. He said, I am the resurrection. So, we want to guard doubt. We want to guard doubt. Number 4, the 4th enemy on the inside that we have to deal with, if we're going to move forward when it seems like life's pushing us back, worry.